So I'm now going to tell you about something which most people are not aware of, and I've been researching this and I'm absolutely amazed at how widespread this is. This is really incredibly popular. It's kind of a new thing in the last couple of years, especially in the UK. So what I'm going to show you, most of these posters are in the UK. So these are real-time zombie experiences where you go along and you pay money and you're immersed in this kind of theatrical experience where you're faced with real zombies, actors who are dressed up like zombies, and they are trying to chase you, and you've got to run for your life, and you've got to find clues and escape from traps, and it's meant to be as realistic as possible and as terrifying as possible. So this one is by the Zombie Nightmare Company. The UK's terrifying zombie shopping centre experience. So you're in a kind of a lockdown shopping centre. The ultimate immersive zombie experience. So it's meant to be as realistic as possible to really get you into the state of mind where you really have to run for your life and you really have to escape the zombies. Again, so these are some of the images. This is another zombie experience company, also in the UK. And so this is what the actors, these are professional actors, and this is just some of the scenarios that you are faced with when you sign up and you pay money. And so this is set in an underground bunker in London, a real underground bunker, and it's acted out, it's taken very seriously, and you really get involved in the whole storyline, the plot of what you're supposed to do, and you've got to escape from these very realistic looking zombies. So this is very widespread. Here's just another, this is Z Events, and they're doing real-time zombie experiences, and just another image to show you the kind of thing that you're faced with in these experiences. This is one in America, Extreme Haunt, a real-life zombie shooting experience. So some of these are like VR, so you have these VR headsets on, and you're kind of running around this kind of VR room when you're seeing the zombies in your VR headset. But a lot of them, or most of them, are actually with actors who are dressed up like zombies, and they're really playing the part. They're really after your flesh. They really want to bite you and eat you, and it's meant to blur the line. As I said before, it's really blurring the line between reality, which is that zombies don't exist, and fantasy, which is that zombies very well could exist. So it really is preparing people. These are very popular, and of course they're most popular with men who have probably been playing the zombie video games. They like the zombie video games, and they've been watching all the zombie movies. So now they get to have a real life zombie experience to bring it just one more stage into this sense of reality. Again, Zombie Nightmare. This is in the UK. Find the truth, escape the undead, survive. And look at the terror. Look at the people are paying for this, to have these terrifying experiences. And as you can see from the list, that's 9 different locations around the UK. And this is just one company, but it's doing it in 9 different locations, very, very widespread. And as you can see in the bottom right-hand corner, it's wickedexperiences.co.uk. So that's Wicked Experiences, who are setting up these real-life zombie nightmare experiences for people to come and fill themselves with terror. Another one, lastsurvivors.co.uk, zombie experience. There are so many of these, and I'll just show you in a minute how many there are, but most of them are in the UK, which I find very, very interesting. So it's really, people in the UK are really being given the opportunity to get into this state of mind where they really experience a real life, a zombie experience. This is one for students, Infecting the Marion Centre, Freshers and Halloween, Black Death zombie experience. And as you can see, the poster is pretty disturbing, all these hands covered in blood. So again, it's taking the films, the TV programs, and the video games to the next stage. So it's no longer colors on a screen, it's no longer immersive screen experience, it's a real life experience with real people who really seem to want to be coming to eat you, drink your blood and eat your flesh. It's very, very disturbing. So this is zombiebus.ie, as seen on TV, experience the world-famous, fully immersive virtual reality zombie apocalypse. So you can see what's going on here. You can see how it's coming from the screens, and it's coming now into the real world. This is Dartmoor Zoo, a family-friendly zoo, and even they have a zombie outbreak experience, or they had one. And these are still going on. These have grown. The popularity of these things has grown in the last few years. So now, if you search on Google, as I'll show you, there are so many of them. And this is a very disturbing one. The immersive live experience, Generation Z Apocalypse, performances from the 4th of April. So you're involved in this experience. It's not you don't just watch it, you're involved in it. And we'll look at the plot to some of these experiences in a minute. This is in Whitechapel in England, in London, excuse me. As you can see, very dark, very bloody, very sinister. Zombie Apocalypse Park. This is in Abu Dhabi, so an entire zombie apocalypse park where you can experience the horror of a zombie apocalypse for real. This one I find particularly disturbing. This is Virtually Dead. The fact that this man looks like a zombie and is immersed in this virtual reality of zombies. It's kind of making a mockery of what people are doing. What are people doing? They're immersing themselves in this terrifying world of make-believe monsters, and they are terrifying themselves, filling their mind with these ideas and these thoughts and these images of horror and blood and brutality. And they themselves are becoming like zombies in the process. So this is Virtually Dead. This was in London, and here's another one. Again, it's like this sinister, evil character approaching the girl while she's completely unaware, lost in her virtual reality world. And another one, Zombie Apocalypse Live. Would you survive the zombie apocalypse? That's in Austin, Texas. And this is in America again. Zombie outbreak. Train for the zombie apocalypse. So again, this idea, like I mentioned when I was telling you about Fortnite and these zombie games, kids are training. They're being trained with the video games very realistically for the zombie apocalypse. And as they get older, they can actually have a real zombie experience. They can train with real zombies and feel what it's like and act as if it's really happening. So it's like preparing people. It's almost like preparing kids and preparing young adults and men for a real zombie apocalypse. As you saw with the newspaper articles, it's saying how to survive a zombie apocalypse. They're saying that it's going to happen. The newspaper articles and the books, they're saying this is going to happen and you need to be prepared. And then you have things like this telling you, helping you, giving you the opportunity to train for the zombie apocalypse. So this is just what's written on some of the websites, on one particular website, the Zombie Experiences website, the Zombie Factory. So again, it's making it seem as real as possible. So you really, when you're there, you really get into the reality of a real zombie apocalypse. Sheffield has fallen. The epidemic has swept through the city, leaving just a few pockets that provide safe havens, a select few buildings that are the only hope for the authorities to regroup and retake Sheffield. But now one such outpost has been sabotaged, and thousands of infected have breached the quarantine sector. 2 hours of immersive horror. So people pay for 2 hours of immersive horror. Again, from the same website. Emergency paramilitary infection control. The zombie infection is upon us. Right now across the country, outbreaks are threatening to engulf society as we know it. The government tried to contain the situation covertly. They failed. So basically, again, it's not just saying, oh, let's all pretend. It's saying this is happening. The zombie infection is upon us. Outbreaks are threatening to engulf society as we know it. Another one, the bunker. With the government finally admitting that a mutated cross between rabies and the common flu has created a condition known as zombification and the very real threat it poses, it has established specialist units known as Emergency Paramilitary Infection Control. And as you can see, I've underlined in red, it says, it is now a case of not if a zombie outbreak will happen, but when. So again, it's putting in that idea in people's minds, that it's not a case of if, it's going to happen, it's when it's going to happen. And there is only one way to prepare to fight zombies, and that's by fighting zombies. You are instructed to enter the secretive Bunker 51 in London to undergo your combat and survival training with immediate effect. As if the rumours are true, the zombie apocalypse has already claimed its first victims. So this is the reality you get into when you pay for one of these experiences. It's like you are in the reality of a real zombie apocalypse. So it's preparation for a zombie apocalypse. And again, you can see the biohazard symbol being linked to the zombie apocalypse. Just as another part of the website. Your zombie experience will immerse you into a 2.5-hour live horror scenario where you can expect the unexpected. And a nice Bible quote at the end of the website. Your dead shall live, their bodies shall rise. And just so you see, this particular zombie experience company, as you can see in the middle column, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, in 10 different cities across the UK. And this is just this company. This is just zombieexperiences.co.uk. They're in 10 different locations. They're doing this in 10 different locations across the UK. And there are so many more. So I won't bore you with all the details, but this is just a Google search for immersive zombie experience. Zombie factory infection, zombie experiences, wicked experiences, zombie nightmare, zombie infection, the UK's premium supplier of zombie experiences. Zombie apocalypse, brand new scarefest is coming to Gloucester. Zombieexperience.uk, theatrical 3-hour zombie experience. Making zombie soup at zero latency. Fancy escaping a zombie? Fancy getting stuck in a video game or escaping a zombie? Terrifying immersive VR zombie experience. Military doctor characters for immersive zombie experience. Zombies to take over Woollerton Hall. Ultimate recreation. Know that the Living Dead, set in one of the UK's most haunted attractions, Dorset's Knowth Fort, will be an immersive zombie experience that sees survivors of the new apocalypse battling their way through a web of tunnels infested with flesh-eating zombies. So again, this is just page after page after page. There are so many of these, and most of them are in England. And I didn't use google.co.uk to search for these. I just typed on google.com, and it gave me all of these. So England is really getting into this, what could you call it? This trend, this popular trend of real-time zombie experiences, as you can see, just over and over again, more and more zombie factory infection. The epidemic has swept through the city, leaving just a few pockets that provide safe havens. So many to choose from. Even Virgin Experiences are offering plenty of zombie experiences to choose from. So the reason I've shown you all of these is because I want to show you how widespread. This isn't just a little fad that's just in one part of the world or just in one part of England. This is all over the UK. These real-time immersive zombie experiences are all over the UK, and it's big business. It's really big business. People are paying like €150. And I just want to tell you that the average age, the minimum age for most of these is 14 years old. So basically, if you're 14 years old, you can go and have a real immersive, horrific zombie experience anywhere in the UK, pretty much. So as you can see, they don't stop. Abandoned ship off the coast of the UK to be turned into terrifying zombie experience where you must stop the virus. Again, linking it to this super contagious viral outbreak. And just look at the third one down here. 3-hour immersive zombie school experience. It's time to go back to school, zombie school. Learn how to look like, walk like, and gurgle like a real zombie with this fantastic zombie school experience in Kidderminster, Worcestershire. So this is the zombie school experience. If you click on it, this is what it tells you. It's time to go back to school, zombie school. Second paragraph. This experience is perfect for the zombie fanatics. So of course there must be millions of zombie fanatics out there now with all the films, all the TV programs. It's almost like they want you to become a zombie fanatic by giving you lots of films, lots of TV programs, lots of games to play. It's like encouraging zombie fanaticism. And as you'll see from the next few images, it goes even further than that. If they're trying to turn people into zombie fanatics, then they are succeeding. Spend half a day learning how to be one of the undead and inflict terror and mayhem on the human race. This experience will teach you everything you need to know about becoming a zombie. And just in the third paragraph, right at the bottom here, the last 3 lines, you will then be immersed in battle, in true police squad versus zombies style. Prepare to eat some flesh, or at least pretend to, in order to complete your missions. So it's really, what it's suggesting, it's proposing you really get into the role of being a zombie. And what better way to get into the role of a zombie when you've been to zombie school and you've learned how to walk and dress and behave like a zombie. You get your outfit on, and as you can see, you go for a zombie walk. You join thousands of other people on the streets and you join a zombie walk. These are all zombie walks, which are now everywhere, in every city, in every country. It's a popular, super popular thing that happens at least once a year, and thousands of people get together on the streets and they dress like zombies. So this is a Wikipedia page. A zombie walk is an organised public gathering of people who dress up in zombie costumes. Participants usually meet in an urban centre and make their way around the city streets and public spaces. Zombie walks can be organised simply for entertainment or with a purpose. And I just want to read you the bottom 2 lines right at the bottom. As an advanced technique to heighten interest and realism, some zombie mobs will eat victims to create new zombies in sight of onlookers. So again, people are being encouraged to get into this feeling of being a zombie. So as you can see, there's 2 movements happening. One movement is prepare for the zombie apocalypse, train to fight the zombies. And then on the other side, you've got this movement of become a zombie, practice becoming a zombie. Here are the 22 largest zombie walks and how you can play dead too. So this is a big thing. Zombie walks are a big thing, and there's websites where you can find the nearest zombie walk, and there are so many of them all over the world. I'm sure if you looked in your town or city, you would find that there was one at some point. And people really get into this. As you can see, they really get into the gore, the horror, and every aspect of being a zombie. How to be a zombie in a zombie walk. Find a zombie walk near you. No need to wait till Halloween. There are zombie walks hosted all over the world at all times of the year. Make your zombie costume. And unfortunately, this is what's happening with kids. Parents are getting their kids dressed up for the zombie walks. As you can see, they're really getting them very realistically looking like the undead. Gore, blood, very, very dark and disturbing images. But this is what's happening. Kids are being encouraged to want to dress up like zombies so they can participate in the zombie walks. So can you see what's happening? The zombies are going from the TV screens to the video games, and now people are being encouraged to act out the zombification for themselves. And again, more disturbing pictures of exactly what's happening and exactly what kids are being encouraged to do, and they're being encouraged to want to dress up. They're being encouraged to want to be a zombie, to participate in the zombie walks. And as you can see, a lot of young people are involved in the zombie walks, especially in this image. You can see it's pretty much mostly young people, students, and they really get into it. They're really encouraged to get into it. And again, another zombie walk. They're very popular, and thousands of people come out to the street and really kind of really portray this idea of a zombie apocalypse on the street. And this isn't accidental. Again, another one. Some very disturbing images there. I'm sorry to be showing you these, but I want you to understand what is happening and how it's being brought in to the real world. The idea of the zombie apocalypse is being brought into everyday life, into everyday consciousness, and is really being brought into our culture. And the idea of blood, gore, brains, zombies eating humans, and it's really, people are being encouraged to get into this, the psychology of this, and also with the psychology comes the feeling, the emotion of being a zombie, the darkness, embracing the dark side and wanting to terrify people and wanting to eat flesh. Again, as you can see, the man at the front there pretending to eat flesh, and again, mostly young people. And you can see it's very, very realistic. They're really getting into it. And this is all over the world. These aren't just rare occurrences here and there. These are in every city all over the world, and there have been some very, very big ones, like tens of thousands of people, I think the world record is. And this is a poster that was put up around one of the walks. Zombie apocalypse. Are you ready? So people act out the fact, they're kind of acting out that there's a zombie apocalypse. So these posters go up and they really get into the psychology of a zombie apocalypse is happening. So it's not just in the video games, and it's not just in these immersive zombie experiences in shopping centres and disused warehouses and underground bunkers. It's now coming onto the streets with these zombie walks and the idea of the zombie apocalypse actually occurring in the streets. So I just wanted to read this particular one to you. Bunker 51 Zombie SWAT Training. The invasion has begun, and soon London will be swarming with the undead. Well, if there's a zombie walk on the calendar, then it certainly will be swarming with the undead. Step inside the battle zone, face your biggest fears, and fight to save the world from imminent disaster. The end is near, and you must learn how to survive. Again, it's kind of mirroring the message that's been put out in these articles in the newspapers and the books about how to survive a zombie apocalypse. So you must learn how to survive, it's saying. Luckily, you are one of the selected few deemed worthy to undergo intense zombie survival training from our Undead Response Unit. So when you go and pay for one of these things, they speak to you as if it's real. It's not like, oh, welcome to this bit of fun, it's all just a joke. They actually, it's very realistic. They speak to you as if the zombie apocalypse is really happening, and they have to train you. You're being trained for this very serious and real life event. And further down it says, the decommissioned nuclear bunker has been a research facility for zombie observation for over a decade. And now, with rumours of zombies attacking in London, Bunker 51 is ready to train recruits in the essentials of zombie survival. So you can imagine if people's realities are blurring, and they've been playing the zombie games and reading the books, seeing the newspaper articles, watching the films, and they go along to one of these things and which they're being spoken to as if the zombie apocalypse is really happening and that zombies are going to come onto the streets. You can see how it could really blur this line between fantasy and reality, and especially when you've got zombie walks happening on the streets where there are in fact thousands of zombies on the street. So the fact that these two things could be going on simultaneously, thousands of people on the street participating in zombie walks, and then the popularity of all these things where men are trained, they're trained to deal with real life zombie attacks which they're told are imminent in a very realistic way. It's a very, very concerning connection, and time will tell if that connection goes any further. So I just want to reiterate this kind of the idea of this training people for the zombie apocalypse. Train for the zombie apocalypse like you need to train for it. Again, people are being trained for it in these games. They are training for the zombie apocalypse. Young men have been training, battling with zombies in these games in a very realistic way for many, many years. And so as they get older, as they mature into older teenagers, they go and have a real-time immersive zombie experience. But the youngsters now are undergoing a zombie apocalypse training in games like Fortnite. So this game is not for older children. It's not just for older children. Young children are playing this. This game is aimed at young children as well as older children. So it's really it's meant to be a family-friendly game. But again, it's this training, this idea of training kids of what it would be like in a zombie apocalypse, and training them to be prepared to be super violent and use weapons and to spare nobody and to protect the world and save everybody from these deadly flesh-eating zombies. So kids are getting this psychological training with these video games and with these TV programs like The Last Kids on Earth. It's psychologically acclimatizing them to the idea of a zombie apocalypse. In a very powerful way. I believe these have been made with this intention. It's not just entertainment. There is an agenda to get the idea into kids' minds that a zombie apocalypse could actually happen and to prepare them for it. And look at this. This is the article from National Geographic Kids. This is for kids. National Geographic. 7 steps to surviving an apocalypse, according to science. So again, it's really bringing it into reality, into children's minds, that they need to know how to survive an apocalypse. Because when children read things like this on trusted websites like the National Geographic, then they automatically assume that they're being told this information for a reason. Why else would the National Geographic be telling them 7 steps to surviving an apocalypse, unless for some reason they might need to know how to survive an apocalypse? And again, it's backed up by science, which of course children are automatically told gives extra credence and extra weight to any argument, any information when it's according to science, suddenly has a lot more clout. So this question here, what would you do if the world was ending? What that question does is it gets children to consider the scenario of the world ending and how they would behave. So it's almost like they're mentally prepared. It's encouraging children to mentally prepare themselves for how they would behave, how they would feel, how they would think, if in the event of a zombie apocalypse. Because this article is about a zombie apocalypse. If you read further on, it talks about a zombie apocalypse, which is of course to you and me the most far-fetched and ridiculous idea. Yet articles like this and all the other information in the media is bringing it into children's minds and adults' minds as a very realistic possibility. And this question, what would you do if the world was ending? Well, children have already been conditioned and prepared how they would behave and how they would act if a zombie apocalypse began. Because all the films they've been watching and all the games they've been playing, all the zombie games they've been playing, and all the cartoons they've been watching, they show them exactly what they would need to do in the case of a zombie apocalypse, which is to find a weapon, firstly, and to prepare to protect themselves from all the zombies, and secondly, to be deeply, deeply afraid. Because can you think of a more terrifying scenario for a child to consider than a zombie apocalypse? Millions or thousands of living dead chasing them and wanting to eat their flesh and drink their blood. What a terrifying idea to put into children's minds. But this is what is happening, and you've seen it. You've seen the evidence of all the other ways that this is being put into children's minds, this idea of zombies and the apocalypse. And essentially, when you get down to the heart of it, it's about sowing fear. Because things like this, for a child to consider that a zombie apocalypse might be a real possibility, it plants a deep seed of fear in their heart to consider that this might actually happen. For the mind to actually accept that this is a possibility, a realistic possibility, then there must be a deep seed of fear, a seed of fear planted deep in that child's heart, because this is not something you would ever want to consider as a possibility in your life. Yet, what do we have happening right now on every news screen, in every newspaper, on every news website across the globe? We have the coronavirus. And again, this image, this biohazard image, is linked to the coronavirus and the fear that it's spreading around the world, because people have been conditioned with this image and with this idea of this incredibly contagious disease, and turning into a pandemic and turning the population into zombies. People have been kind of conditioned with this idea for many, many, many years. I mean, you yourself may not have ever watched a zombie apocalypse movie or played a zombie apocalypse game, and so on and so forth. But there are plenty, and I mean plenty, of young people who have watched a lot of zombie movies and are watching all the Netflix zombie productions at the moment, and who have played all the zombie games, and they play them every day, and they really get into the reality of what a zombie apocalypse would be like. And now on their news screens, and now on the TV screens and on the website screens that they're looking at, they are seeing that it's actually happening in real life, this viral outbreak. And so it's really, again, blurring the line between fantasy and reality, that now the first step has occurred. A viral outbreak, a worldwide viral outbreak has occurred. And this symbol is key to this. It's a key symbol to kind of, triggering a lot of fear within a lot of people. Because if you've seen the films and you've played the games, then you'll know this is a very fearful situation. And for most of us who are now looking at this on our news, on our screens, and we are nowhere near China, it's hard to imagine what it feels like to be in China, and hard to imagine how the people of China must feel when their cities are being shut down and they're being put into quarantine. And as I've shown you, this virus is said to be spreading, and obviously it is spreading. Its cases are popping up all over the place. People are getting sick, and people are thinking that this is going to turn into a very deadly pandemic. And as this particular film showed, it is a terrifying situation which spreads dread and fear into millions and millions of people and has very, very dire consequences. So that's contagion. Nothing spreads like fear, and that's what I believe this is all about, especially putting into children's minds the idea of an apocalypse, and not just an apocalypse, but a zombie apocalypse. This is the agenda, to spread fear around the globe. And look, Netflix is even helping with this agenda. Right at the beginning of the major news coverage of the corona outbreak, Netflix released a docuseries called Pandemic. So it just happened by coincidence to be scheduled right in the first week of the major news coverage of the coronavirus outbreak. And as you can see, the artwork has the biohazard image, and you can see all the little red dots showing all the infected places, just like in all the games children are playing, and in this game called Plague Inc., that is now the #1 game in the App Store, which has been played by millions of people for many, many years. It's all about spreading a contagious plague to kill off the human population. That's called Plague Inc. And that game is now top of the charts. And this now has been released by Netflix. And again, it's spreading fear. It's putting this idea into people's minds that millions of people could die, and it could be have terrifying consequences for the globe. And I'll tell you a little bit about this. Netflix has gone and freaked out its viewers by dropping a brand new pandemic docuseries amid the coronavirus outbreak. Now I'm just going to skip onto the bottom 2 lines. Dr. Dennis Carroll, in a chilling voiceover, he can be heard saying, "When we talk about another flu pandemic happening, it's not a matter of if, but when." So do you remember that line? It's not a matter of if, but when, because it was on the newspaper article related to The Walking Dead and how it's much closer than we think, and it was also on the website of I think it was Wicked Experiences, the immersive zombie experience. It's not a matter of if, but when. And now we see it being this idea being promoted on the trailer for Netflix's Pandemic documentary. So again, it's spreading fear, spreading this idea that a pandemic is about to basically take over the globe. And you have to remember this important thing, that all the games and all the movies and all the TV programs and all the books and everything connects very deeply this kind of the first step of a global viral outbreak to a zombie apocalypse. And as you've seen, this is what's being suggested to children now. A zombie apocalypse might occur, and the number one game across the planet right now, Fortnite, is a zombie apocalypse game. The executive producer of Pandemic said, "It's uncanny and disturbing how the two have coincided." He's referring to the release of Netflix's docuseries and the coronavirus outbreak. "It's uncanny and disturbing how the two have coincided, but it's an absolute coincidence," he says. Well, if he expects us to believe that, then we are not the fools, because that is a very, very far stretch of the imagination to believe that this docuseries just happened of all the days and of all the weeks and of all the months that it could have been released, that it was released right at the beginning of the global pandemic or the global coronavirus outbreak. And what's it all about? What's pandemic? What's the underlying message apart from fear of pandemic? It highlights the need for a universal flu vaccine. So this is health.com, one of the biggest health websites in the world, obviously with the name health.com. A universal flu vaccine could offer protection against even unknown strains. So it's propaganda. It's propaganda to sell the idea of a universal flu vaccine to the entire population. Because, of course, the coronavirus is creating a lot of fear. People are afraid, watching the news reports and seeing it spreading and seeing the number of deaths increase and seeing all these things, especially people having been conditioned with the ideas of terrible viral strains infecting the world. So people are naturally afraid, but here comes along Netflix's documentary, and the main message of it is that a universal flu vaccine would be the solution. It would solve the problem. So why don't we have one yet? So it's creating this desire, it's creating this kind of appetite for a universal flu vaccine. And then it goes on, this article goes on, again, another bit of propaganda, in my opinion, goes on to say, what exactly would a universal flu shot look like? So it's getting people used to the idea of a universal flu shot. It's basically acclimatizing people to how it would be, what it would do, and of course all the benefits for their health and for their peace of mind. And of course I'm just going to skip to the bottom two lines, or the bottom line. It says, and it would be available to children, adults, and the elderly population. So essentially it would be for everyone. So the likelihood is that this would be a mandatory universal flu shot. Not optional, but mandatory. Because if there's a pandemic spreading and you're choosing not to get vaccinated, then you are going to be highly unpopular, and you're also going to be a health threat to all the people around you. So I can very well see that this would be a mandatory universal flu shot. And guess who wins? Guess who wins in this situation? The pharmaceutical industry. Because obviously the pharmaceutical industry is a business, and it makes billions and billions worldwide. And if you look at this image, if you just ask yourself, what is the message of this image? Well, it's quite obvious. Injecting the whole world. That means injecting the whole human population. And this, I believe, is the message of pandemic. And this, I believe, is fortuitously for the pharmaceutical industry a kind of a positive effect of the whole coronavirus. The fact that this virus is spreading and people are getting afraid, it creates a desire, it creates an appetite for this universal flu shot. People are going to be eager to be vaccinated against this. So the big winner, when you consider the coronavirus outbreak, the biggest winner, it seems, would certainly be the pharmaceutical industry. Because can you imagine vaccinating 7 billion people and how much money that would make? And I won't even go into the possible consequences or the possible other reasons why they would want to vaccinate 7 billion people, because that takes things down another path. But all I can say is this. I'll say two things. First of all, it's clear to me that there is an agenda to spread fear, and that if you look at the contagion, poster, which for me, when I saw it in 2011, I remember seeing it on all the buses being advertised, and everywhere. It was being advertised everywhere in London. I saw it, and the first thought I had was, this is propaganda. It really looked to me like propaganda. And, with a bit of hindsight, we can see, especially when you watch the trailer for Contagion or you've watched the film, you will see that it is almost identical to what's happening now. And the amount of fear in that film, and it's all about fear. The film is all about the spreading of fear. The tagline is "Nothing spreads like fear," and the secondary tagline for that film is "No one is immune to fear." And now, 9 years later, here you have a pandemic. No one is immune to fear. So my message would be, from all of this, that don't buy into the fear. Don't believe the propaganda. Don't believe anything which encourages you to be afraid. Don't trust things like Netflix's documentary on pandemic and anything that creates a fear, creates this sense of dread and wanting the pharmaceutical industry to save you from your fear. Don't trust the fearmongers. And my secondary message would be, it's quite a controversial one, but if a universal flu shot is, and I'm sure it will be, released and kind of recommended for the world to accept, do not take this flu shot. Do not accept it. Do not trust that it's for your benefit, because Netflix and the people who put out messages like this, they have an agenda, and their clear agenda, as you can see in front of you, is not only to inject the whole world, but it's also to steer your mind so it thinks along certain pathways, certain fearful pathways. And so you put your sense of trust in the pharmaceutical industry. And I do not recommend putting your trust in the pharmaceutical industry. What I recommend is putting your trust in God. Because I've known God for many, many years now. I discovered God through many years of meditation, many years of spiritual investigation. So I wasn't persuaded of the existence of God by a religious text. I came to God through journeying in my consciousness and journeying spiritually. And I came to realize that God is very real. And we need God now more than ever. Because the more that fear rises, people are going to be looking for something to trust, something to put their faith in. And as you've seen, the pandemic wants you to put your faith in the pharmaceutical industry. But we need to put our faith in God. It is imperative, it is vital, it is absolutely essential now, because this is just the beginning. This whole coronavirus outbreak, this whole media frenzy about viruses spreading, and not just in the news, but also everything to do with the TV programs and the movies, and this whole idea of the zombie apocalypse. This is just the beginning. This is just the beginning of the fear spreading. Now, you can make sure that you're not one of the people who allows fear to spread through you. And the best way to do this is trust in something greater than the pharmaceutical industry for a start, and something greater than yourself. God is a reality, I can assure you. And if you turn to God, if you speak to God in bed at night, when you lie down with your eyes closed, speak to God. Ask God to show you his existence. Ask God to show you his reality. Because everybody, trust me, everybody will need God in this very interesting and challenging time, when there is going to be so much fear spreading through society and being promoted in the media, we need faith. We need trust. We need faith that we don't need to put our lives in the hands of the pharmaceutical industry. And trust me, we don't want to be putting our lives in the hands of the pharmaceutical industry on an issue like this. We need to be putting our lives in the hands of God.